Alright boys, Better MMA is back. You know what it is. We're back in the moving studio after work on our way home. About to get blazed off of some blinkers, and we're gonna jump right into the topic of discussion at hand, which is a very important topic of discussion that I had to bring up on this channel at some point. You know, the upcoming UFC card this week is pretty weak. So I thought I would make some evergreen content for you guys. And what I wanted to discuss here is steroids in MMA. First thing, if we're going to have an open, honest discussion, and if we're going to have a discussion that is for the better of the MMA world, the MMA community, we all need to admit that MMA is awesome. And we know MMA is awesome. Vitor Belfort, 360 spinning heel kick to Luke Rockhold's dome. Vitor Belfort, head kick on Michael Bisping, literally destroying Michael Bisping's eye forever. Michael Bisping had to get a glass eye. Nate Marquardt elbowing Tyron Woodley for the Strikeforce welterweight title. Thiago Alves flying knee on Matt Hughes. I can go on and on and on all day, guys. So the problem that we have in the MMA community today is that we perceive steroids as cheating. Now, what cheating is having an unfair advantage. Now, what I would argue is this, that in generally speaking, whether steroids are made legal or illegal, you will have the same people trying to do steroids. The same amount of people trying to do steroids. When, let's say, hypothetically, steroids become legalized by, federally and all sort of state commissions, I'm sure there would be an initial boom of maybe guys on the amateur level trying it out. But the guys that have already gotten to the highest level, natural or not natural, there's not really much incentive. It's like the logic of, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So for somebody like Michael Bisping, who I think Michael Bisping was natural his entire UFC career. I believe him when he says it. I don't think Michael Bisping is necessarily chomping at the bit to take steroids, even if steroids became legalized. Not every fighter may have that sort of integrity or self-belief in their natural ability, or disbelief in steroids and what they can add to their performance. So there won't be that much of a psychological change on a fighter's reasoning to take steroids, even if they're legal or not, because you go into every fight at the highest level saying, this guy could be on steroids, I'm gonna go in there and finish him anyways. And you're not gonna tell me that not every single UFC top 10, top 5 fighter, I'll say top 5 fighter is thinking that, or like title contending fighter is thinking, this guy could be on anything, juice or no juice. He could have 3 arms, I'm gonna beat this guy. Those are the mentalities of the fighters at the highest level. So whether steroids became legalized or not legalized, it wouldn't necessarily change how the fighters at the top level are going to decide to cycle or not. But that all being said, I think we need to stop looking at steroids as a form of cheating and gaining an advantage, and more so as a form of recovery and physical maintenance to these fighters who are literally putting themselves through unimaginable physical damage. The average person cannot imagine the sort of pain. Look at Chito Vera's face after he had 5 rounds with Sean O'Malley. The average person has no idea what that feels like. And Chito Vera went into that cage willingly, knowing what he was getting paid. He agreed to it, and he walked in there, and he went in there knowing that that was a possibility. These guys, even at the highest level, they're not even worried about if the guy is on roids or not, you know? They're more so worried about a game plan that they're going to implement. Just to finish that point, the damage that these fighters go through, for them to be on steroids or some sort of chemical that is going to help their body recover faster, okay, and heal itself, why are we, like, saying, no, I'm gonna pay to watch you maim yourself, but you can't use everything at the world's disposal to heal your body afterwards. Like, guys, like, from just like a moral level, that's just like kind of stupid. And we all need to recognize that as people. We need to recognize that as people. We need to open up our minds and say, look, we're already asking these guys to get knocked out, go through potentially life-altering damage. It is... No. There is no potentially. There is no potentially. We are asking them to go through life-altering damage for money, yes, but what makes them not have the right to take care of their body to the best ability possible? And yeah, is it going to lead to damage in the cage? If he was natural or not, it's going to lead to damage in the cage. Legal or not, because we all know they exist. Every fighter has that choice to take something or not take something. That's a choice for every single fighter, you know? Just like retaining your seed before a fight, that's a choice for every single fighter. If we're saying, oh no, you're boosting your testosterone by doing that, that's bad. Or if we just start saying, no, that is a synthetic, man-made contraption that you're using to heal your body. You can't use that. You're making your body strong enough to be prepared to go to war? How crazy is that? I think it's like your body, your choice type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm pro-life, but like I'm also my body, my choice. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna pay you to be our gladiator, you can prepare yourself however you want. As long as you don't bring a knife in there, as long as you don't put plaster in your gloves and try and do something like that, I think it's all fair game, guys. TRT, EPO, all that good juice that Alistair was on. Let's make it happen, guys. There's no right that we have, because you know what we're doing? if we are not allowing them to enhance themselves, we are putting them at risk of more damage. Think about that. Think about that. If we are not giving them the opportunity to enhance themselves, we are putting them at greater risk to receive damage and to be knocked out, right? If you're saying steroids give you better reaction time, they make you faster, you know, they give you greater strength, well then I would want those. You wouldn't want me to get knocked out, would you? So everybody has the right to take steroids and to enhance themselves, to protect themselves. Okay, it's not like they're bringing a gun in there. It's not like they're bringing a knife in there and they're trying to, you know, harm the person in an unfair way. They're still going to have to use technique. And I think Rampage Jackson said it best, and I'm going to move on to my other point of this video. Rampage Jackson said it best. Those drugs can't fight for you. Those steroids cannot fight for you at the end of the day. They can make you stronger, they can make you faster, but they cannot fight for you. And I really agree with that. And I've really felt that way since a kid, because you would get these guys that would pop, and then eventually they would just never really be at that same top level again after they pop. You know, and I think a lot of the time it's kind of like a psychological thing that they deal with afterwards, kind of like being exposed. But I think the perfect example in MMA is Sean Shirk. Now, Sean Shirk had a great legacy in MMA, but at a certain point, Sean Shirk could not beat the guys like George St. Pierre, BJ Penn, destroyed him with that knee. I think there's such a thing as steroid luck, and I don't know if it's necessarily just luck, but I do think there is an insecurity in taking steroids to a certain extent because you don't believe that you're good enough naturally. But I do think it makes sense to just enhance yourself if you're training so hard and you're getting injured all the time and you want to be able to recover and train more. I think it totally makes sense and it's totally justified if you want to take something that helps you do those things more effectively and efficiently. It's helping you do your job better at the end of the day. And what do we always want when these guys show up on fight night? To do their job better and to do this and to do that. Look, if you want these guys to give their all, let's give them the opportunity for them to give their all, okay? That's all I've got to say about that for now. Second thing I've got to say about this argument is the Legends argument. This is the most important part of the Legends argument. Anderson Silva and John Jones have popped. We all know that. People have done their own research, and they will have their own speculations about it. More Plates, More Dates has made his John Jones video. He's made his own speculations. Me personally, I do think John Jones did a little bit of the saucy sauce. And I think that's fine. Like, he just put a little, like, Frank's Hot on it. Like, John Jones, if you look at his brothers, especially his brother Chandler, who I think if he was in MMA would be the real GOAT, most likely. But that family has got some crazy genetics. And I really would be, by the eye test, I would believe John Jones to be natural. But for all the weird times of him being popped and whatnot, I would assume where there's smoke, there's fire at the end of the day. You know, these stories about him hiding under the cage, and then he actually addresses it and said it was true, which is just even like, dude, for real? Like, you should have just shut up and, like, not even addressed it. I do think that John Jones just put a little bit of Frank's Hot on top of it. And back in the day, when he was, like, fighting these dudes like Lyoto Machida, Vitor Belfort, the abs were popping. I'm not gonna lie, the abs were popping. And that's the John that we all fell in love with. That version of John Jones is the version that we all fell in love with, okay? Don't lie. I don't care what time you became a fan of UFC, but you all love watching John Jones choke Lyoto Machida up against the side of the cage. You all love watching John Jones nearly get his arm broken by a clearly juiced up Vitor Belfort, okay? And then he comes back and then he Kimuras Vitor Belfort with a savage Kimura, nearly breaking his arm off. We all love that version of John Jones. And that's the John Jones that was pre-USADA. Anderson Silva, who I love so much. He had some allegations and some tests in his past. And if you're getting the Forrest Griffin knockout and the Vitor Belfort front kick and him choking out Chael Sonnen in the 5th round, I'm not complaining. Okay, I'm not complaining. The third person that I want to talk about, and I think he gets the most mistreated out of all of them, TJ Dillashaw. Yeah, he popped for EPO. And if you forced me to bet on it, I would say that he was most likely on something throughout his entire career. But TJ Dillashaw, I'm not going to lie to you guys, I really became a big TJ Dillashaw fan. And the TJ Dillashaw-Cody Garbrandt rivalry really, really made me become a fan of the UFC and start following the UFC. There was something so fun about their rivalry and watching them talk shit to each other that it was just like the funniest shit that you could ever want to watch. And at the same time, they would get into the ring and then they would absolutely bang like these two little Dragon Ball Z characters. Two of the best bantamweight championship fights till this day. To this day. To this day. Two of the best bantamweight championship fights that go so underrated. TJ Dillashaw knocking out Cody Garbrandt, coming back after getting rocked in the first round of their first fight. I mean, and then absolutely just getting better in the second fight. Flawless performance, you could argue. I think TJ Dillashaw still has an argument to be the bantamweight greatest of all time. I think that stylistically, he matches up against so many people so well. His resume still looks amazing. His fight with Dominic Cruz, yes, it was a very close fight. I'm not going to argue with you if you want to say that Dominic Cruz got that fight. But if Dominic Cruz and TJ Dillashaw fought 10 times, I really wonder what those other 9 fights would look like. Because of his finishing potential in comparison to Dominic Cruz and his kicking game, which leads to more finishes. His kicking game, his ground and pound is much more dangerous than Dominic Cruz. But all I want to say is that prime TJ Dillashaw, one of the greatest bantamweights of all time, is prime TJ Dillashaw. And one of the most entertaining fighters of all time. Watching him knock out Cody Garbrandt for the first time, I believe. He was interviewed. He was saying in his post-fight interview with Rogan, you know, I love this. I love to come out here and bang. I love to come out here and knock people out. And you can just tell, like, this guy loves to fight and this guy was born to do this. And we should not stop him from doing this and performing this way. Okay, guys, so this is our solution. We legalize it by making it known that you can take whatever substances you want to take to prepare yourself for this fight. Okay? Boom. Done. And this is hypothetically thinking that we get all of these substances legally approved federally, if they happen to be illegal at the moment in whatever state or what have you. You make it an open forum. You make it transparent and well known But not only do you make it transparent and well known, you also get to test them and get to read their blood work and figure out what substances they're on before each fight. I mean, how cool would it be to find out the stack that John Jones was on when he fought Daniel Cormier for the second time? I mean, wouldn't you love to know? Wouldn't you love to know what TRT Vitor was actually taking? Wouldn't you love to know what Uberim was actually taking? I mean, why are we trying to run away from this stuff like it doesn't exist? You know what I'm saying? It really doesn't make sense to make it illegal either, because we know that it's going to take place and it's going to happen either way. So it's really just causing a lot of trouble for everybody. I'm sure that whoever they is getting in the way of it because they can't figure out how they can make enough of a profit on it. But whatever it is, we need to start opening up the discussion as fans and just start making it less taboo and being okay with fighters being on steroids. Because at the end of the day, there might be one fighter who gets caught for steroids, and then all these fighters are gonna, shit on him in the media. But there's gonna be so many fighters that are on the same shit, and they might be shitting on him, or, having to say some, they get asked a question, so they have to say, oh yeah, cheating is bad, or, they might get forced into saying something like that, but they're also on something. It's not fair. It's not fair to even be in this situation where only the select few get caught. That's because that, at the end of the day, is an unjust justice system, right? And I would rather live in a transparent, open forum where we understand the substances that everybody is taking if they happen to be taking them. And what we get out of that is we don't get the disappointment of finding out that they're on something, okay? Because at the end of the day, we all know to some level, there are the murmurs about Jones and Silva, being on something, and these are the greatest of all time. There are these murmurs. So why try and avoid that disappointment when it's essentially inevitable, when you're playing this game of banning it and trying to regulate it? What you need is transparency and regulation. And also what that does is it creates an opportunity for actual natural athletes to gain a huge fan base. Because it's like the cojones, bro. Like, you got them steel nuts walking in there natural, and you got like the toxicology report that's being recorded by the athletic commission, that gets released at some point, maybe before. I think like it would be cool, like before the fight, like kind of like we get their like in cage weight, at some point we find out what substances they're on. And like, I'm not even saying we have to pull blood like sometime before the fight or anything like that, because we don't, at the end of the day, this has to be avoiding affecting people's performance, right? We want people to work at their peak performance. Like, they might have to do it like the week of the fight, but we'll have to figure out like some way. But in general, they just should not be punished for it, okay? Because at the end of the day, then if you are actually natural, you would be given this like extra sort of fan base. At the end of the day, guys, we shouldn't be harassing these dudes for trying to be their best if we are all harassing them to be their best, and we're actually trying to pay them money to be their best, and at the same time they're in a position where they get punished if they try, quote unquote, too hard. It's just a weird, messed up situation that fighters have to be in. This is a very important thing, guys, because steroids and MMA, they will always be intertwined. So this discussion needs to be had at some point, and we need to get to a resolution of it. because it's always going to exist. So we're either going to exist in a world of lies and deceit, or we can start to have an open discussion and work towards a world of open transparency. For me, it's a no-brainer. If we could learn what these guys are on and finally know like what sort of stack each dude is using, and there's just like no stigma around it. You know, there might even be something, of course, like certain guys are already like that. Like they think it's like cool or something if you're like taking a certain thing, or they're like, yo, the trend is crazy, or like this or that, or, you know, or I'm sure we'll even start just having these different clans of like the EPO guys in MMA versus the TRT guys or what have you, or the clenbuterol, or I don't know the names of all these things, but it would be just great if we destigmatize it and we stop punishing these guys for doing their job, which is just what it feels like to me, because they're going to be doing it anyways, guys. Like you really think you telling them, hey, don't do that? They're like, dude, I've been doing this my whole career fighting. Why would I stop doing this once I get to the highest level? It just makes no sense, guys. But yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts. I like making this evergreen MMA content because this is the purpose of Better MMA, is just to keep the MMA space moving forward in a forward direction, because we get caught up in week to week of what's going on, but we need to be, I don't know, tending to the weeds, cutting the grass, mowing the lawn, you know, planting trees here or there, and seeing the fruits of our labor grow. So yeah, guys, let me know what you think. I think we should definitely legalize steroids and enhancements in MMA. We should destigmatize it in general, because it is a reality of the sport. So thank you so much for watching. You guys are the best. If you watch the end of the video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Peace.